Hi, it's Wendy with the latest Critical Facilities Summit blog, and I want to talk to you today about some recent events in Charlotte and what's in store for this year's Critical Facilities Summit. You know, CFS is a part of a family of trade shows and conferences, and in managing these events, we've had all sorts of disruptions to our own shows. A few years ago, Hurricane Sandy's arrival in New York forced us to reschedule a major meeting in Manhattan and rebook hundreds of hotel rooms. I think we were on the phone for about 2 days straight. And then there was the fire in Chicago's Air Route Traffic Control Center in 2014. That grounded about 2,000 flights, several of which were supposed to be bringing CFS presenters to Charlotte. You can ask Jeff Gilmer, if you see him at this year's event, how many flights he had to take to finally get to Queen City. And so we've gotten pretty adept at handling adversity and using what we've learned to inform our future conferences and planning. Recently, however, disruptions to our events aren't caused by weather and can't easily be put out like some fires can. Last week's unrest in Charlotte echoes protests and chaos that have occurred in other American cities like St. Louis, Baltimore, and my town of Milwaukee. Watching last week's events unfold in the Queen City was hard for our CFS team. Over the past 4 years, we've come to love Charlotte for its warm hospitality, can-do spirit, commitment to innovation, and its deep, rich culture. So, as we've done before, the CFS team assembled to determine next steps. After all, we've got plenty of experience to draw upon. So we came up with a plan, and I want to share it with you now. 1, work closely with local and state officials and law enforcement to ensure that adequate safety measures at both the convention and hotel venues are in place. We don't anticipate any additional screening or checks as a result. You'll be able to move about freely. 2, we've set up a CFS hotline monitored by our executive team, and that's going to answer questions and provide any additional details to anybody who needs them. 3, and this is what I think is the most important step, talk about it. Some of Charlotte's critical businesses like banks and labs and hospitals were smack in the middle of the protests, and if ever there's a test of a facility's emergency preparedness plan, this is it. So with that in mind, I encourage you all to come to this year's CFS ready to exchange ideas and solutions and questions. Questions that help us track down responses to some of the most challenging incidents some of us have seen in this industry. Whether you're right there in Charlotte or coming in from out of town, this is an opportunity that can't be beat. We'll start at Monday's opening session. That's War Stories, Whoppers, and What's Next for Critical Facilities. And I'll be honest, when we started planning the panel discussion earlier this year, we didn't know we'd be living through a war story just 1 week before showtime. And the lessons learned are worth sharing. I look forward to seeing you soon, and the CFS team looks forward to providing everyone with the same collegial, positive, and secure atmosphere as it has in years past. Safe travels. See you in Charlotte.